my pre-Shabbat message today is a statement that was signed by a large number of Jewish organizations, including the Union for Reform Judaism, the American Conference of Cantors, the Central Conference of American Rabbis, the Early Childhood Educators of Reform Judaism, Reform Jewish Community of Canada, the Reform Rabbis of Canada, and NIFTY, and many more organizations. And it reads as follows. A cry is heard in Ramah, wailing, bitter weeping, Rachel weeping for her children. She refuses to be comforted for her children who are gone. From Jeremiah 31:15. And the statement reads, we join with millions around the world, including the tens of thousands of Israelis currently pouring into the streets, who are expressing their grief and anger over the murders of 6 hostages at the hands of Hamas. Hirsch Goldberg-Polin, an Israeli-American citizen, and Carmel Gat, Eden Yerushalmi, Ori Danino, Almog Sarusi, and Alexander Lobanov. Earlier this year, Hirsch's mother, Rachel, spoke to our Reform movement about her beloved son. No mother could have been a more passionate, articulate, and dedicated champion for her child. Rachel and her husband, John, have been unrelenting in their advocacy for Hirsch and the other hostages taken on October the 7th. In their powerful speech at the DNC last week, the Goldberg-Pollins shared with millions of Americans their love for their son and their pain and anguish over the suffering of the hostages along with the civilians in Gaza. The murder of these 6 innocent people was an act of savage cowardice. The pure, unmitigated evil of Hamas, on display to the world in the killing of 1,200 people, the abduction of 250 others, and the torture and sexual assault of hundreds more on October the 7th, must be unequivocally condemned. This latest act of brutality and violence only serves to cause more suffering for both Israelis and the innocent Gazans living under Hamas's violent control. At this moment of terrible tragedy, we reiterate our strong call for Prime Minister Netanyahu to heed the voices of the hostages' families and the millions of Israeli citizens calling on him to not leave the remaining hostages behind, and instead negotiate for a new ceasefire and hostage deal. Every minute the hostages remain in captivity threatens their chances of survival. No more families should suffer the pain felt today by the Goldberg-Pollins and the families of Carmel, Eden, Ori, Almog, and Alexander. The memories of those murdered by Hamas will be a blessing always. We pray for comfort for the bereaved and strength for the hostages still held captive. Those names that were in that statement will be shared at our service this evening. It's a family service. It's at 5:30 instead of the usual time of 6:30. We encourage you to join us for that. And then tomorrow we have a number of things. We have our Torah study, which is on the theme of seeking peace. It comes from the Torah portion of Shoftim, and it's based on the fact in Deuteronomy chapter 20 that before you attack a city, you have to demand peace. You have to try to seek peace. And so we'll be re-exploring this. As we looked at this in October of last year, we'll be exploring this again, this time based on the Torah portion of what does it mean to seek peace at a time of war. After our Shabbat morning service, we also have our community conversations. And we invite you to bring your lunch and to just chat. And the conversation is a guided conversation. I'll be providing a few sources. And the theme this month is there any hope? And from where do we find hope if we're finding hope lacking? And so the idea of this conversation is that it's meant to help us try to find hope when sometimes things might seem hopeless. So I encourage you to join us for those things, as well as for our Havdalathon, which is tomorrow. Please have a look in the e-digest for more details about that. We want as many people gathered together as possible to celebrate Havdalah, which is a really lovely ritual. I hope to see you over Shabbat. And we remember in particular this Shabbat those 6 innocent people who were murdered by Hamas, and we lift up their names in memory, and we invite you to join us during our services for that in particular, as well as for celebrating Shabbat in all its wonder and being together in community as best we can. I wish you Shabbat Shalom.